Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Very,
You dig
very good.
it?
Very good.
Acme is
All right, man. We got
Charbroiled oysters is next level.
on your Facebook on whatever y'all
They
want to
just
share.
and a lot of people don't even have
That
a
boy
clue about them
concentrate, share.
charbroiled oysters at Acme
Right.
for real. They hit way different.
Yeah.
They hit, and I'm not a huge fan of oysters. You know, only oysters
Oh,
we
concentrate. We
eat is
live.
in cans, not that fresh, not freshly shucked oysters. That's how they
Did you
coming
hear me,
straight
man?
out
I
the
said we
what's
live.
that?
Good.
What
I know.
I know they coming out the
Start
what's that?
sharing.
The Gulf
Okay.
or what's that?
So hit it.
Mississippi River.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
You got the video?
I
Play the
am. I
video,
was just
Fuel.
waiting, just so you know, so you can start sharing, man. We about to get this started in a minute, in
All
a
right,
second, in a second, in a
I'm liking
second.
and I'm sharing.
You know what to share. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. As usual, you know, we're live. We're live. We're sharing and wait for you guys to come in, but of course, I always got a video at the beginning, man, because I try to keep people hip on the well, not so much entertainment, but just what's going on around the world with us sometimes, you know. Um, so this one is about, you know, you guys that's familiar with the Trump tariff, you know, on Canada and Mexico. Um, just in case you guys haven't been watching the news, huh?
In
In
China
China,
too.
yeah. If you ain't been watching the news, this is a young lady. What's her video? Her name. I want to say AC Hampton. I hope I got their name right. I hope I got your name right, Miss Lady. No, it's Melody Angel Vids. I think that's it. Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna share a video of hers that you know that's gonna tell us a little bit about what's going on with this whole tariff thing. All right. And while we do that, you guys come on
Talk to
in,
me.
share, like all that good stuff. And it's gonna get this party started in a second, in a second, in a second.
About our history, but we are currently living our history, so I'm going to have to keep you informed on that as well. Because of Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico, prices on goods are about to skyrocket. This is what you should know. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, the tariffs imposed by Trump could raise consumer prices on everyday resale purchases such as food and beverage items and general merchandise, covering about a quarter of the total consumption of the United States. The price hikes are expected to impact outside of the grocery store as well. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economics, the tariffs could cost the average United States household $1,200 annually. Domestic producers that compete with the newly tariffed import will increase their prices in line with import price increases. The following common imports from Canada to U.S., according to the Bureau of Industry and Security of Trading Economics, could be affected by Trump's tariffs as well, on things like wood, charcoal, aluminum, iron and steel appliances, cereal, flour, starch, and milk products, rubbers, alcoholic beverages, carpets, and other textile flooring coverings, wool, animal hair, horsehair yarn, and fabric umbrellas, walking sticks, seated sticks, whips, cotton, cork products, and printed books. But you don't need those, right? Items the U.S. imports from Mexico, according to Trade Economics and the OEC. These are the items that could be affected by Trump's tariffs: cereal, paper products, processed fruits and nuts, tropical fruit, tomatoes, onions, lettuce, cabbage, pickled foods, fruit juices, fertilizers, dairy products, eggs and honey, cotton, beer, hard liquor, coffee, tea, spices, meat, fish and seafood, sauces and seasonings, baked goods, avocados, and raw sugar. But you don't need those, right? According to the Canadian government, about 34% of all meat imported into the U.S. comes from their country. On the other hand, according to the USDA, Mexico is a major provider of fresh vegetables to the U.S., as 77% of our fresh produce comes from South America. Mexico and Canada rank within the top 4 providers of alcohol for Americans. But you don't need those, right? Mexico, in fact, is the largest importer of beer into the United States, as 18% of all beer drank in America comes from Mexico. Trump originally proposed a 10% tariff on Canadian oil, which equates to roughly 16-cent increase per gallon, according to Mike Scoresdale, who's head of U.S. economics at Trust. These tariffs could eventually raise the price of almost everything because companies need fuel to transport their products across the country. Retaliatory actions by the 3 U.S. trade partners are also likely to stir up trouble for American companies. But I think these are intended consequences because Trump doesn't know what he's doing. This is what happens when white privilege runs amok and you put an idiot in the highest office in the land. Prices will also go up on cars. You might see prices go up not just for new cars, but for used ones too, as any additional scarcity in the market often drives more would-be new shoppers to consider used cars. Cars.com says cars that depend heavily on imported parts or are fully imported from the affected countries will likely see prices hike immediately. But you don't need those, right? These are dangerous times for Black people. Whenever someone talks about everyday Americans, they're not talking about Black people. So if something is going to be affecting everyday Americans, you best believe it's going to affect the Black community even worse. These tariffs are going to make it that much harder for our people to survive.
Ooh, What? And that's just an example of things that's going to be going on, you guys, with this whole tariff thing. But I guess it's remained to be seen how bad it is, or really going to get. What's up to Jen? I see you watching on Facebook. Appreciate you tapping in. Anybody else that's in here? What's up? I mean, what you guys think about that? What you guys think about, Canada is pissed off at us. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're pissed. Elon.
They start messing with my beer. We're gonna have a whole problem out here. It just goes to show you that no matter where you live, what society what economic society you're in, is like the domino effect is real, people, right? I think that we are witnessing the purge of the rich. We're watching rich people or the elite or the wealthy put everybody else in the bag. Because as I look at this, as I look at all of the things that are impacted economically, I only see people in certain communities being truly affected. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so it's going to reach everyone, right? Financially, this is going to hit everyone. It's going to impact everyone, but it's only going to hurt a specific communities. These are not just Black communities. These aren't just urban communities. These are rural communities. These are abolitionists. I mean, these are your mountain communities. Like, so many communities are going to be impacted by this.
Yeah.
Right. That I think it needs to happen. Right. Because I don't think you know how much fruit comes from Mexico until you shut the shit down coming from Mexico. Right. I think that you don't understand how valuable crude oil from Canada
who's got to put the lesson on us of where we get our shit from and whatever. Now,
the issue is that I think because all of us, I think as Americans, we all are under a misconception of how our economy moves and works.
But yeah, I think that this,
not to a point where I'm not saying that it's. I'm not. Hold on. What I mean by that is I'm not saying that it's a good thing. It brings everyone on alert. that how if I shut down the border for tomatoes, it's going to affect toilet paper. You get what I'm saying? Like we think that just because the fruit, I don't eat avocados, it ain't gonna mess with my oranges. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't eat avocados. That's really what comes from Mexico. But then your oranges do too. Your tomatoes do too. Your onions do too. You get what I'm saying? And so I think that we're in a time now as people where we really need to start to understand what's going on in the GDP, right? What's really happening with our products, what's really happening with these tariffs, because I think that the powers that be are using the rhetoric, the verbiage that we don't understand to put a lot of us in bad positioning. I also think that it's time for us to get back to gardening again. I think it's so important that we start to take this time to go back to where we were. Since they want to take us back to the 1800s, we really got to make the change, right? We really got to get back in the garden, learn how to grow food, keeping your own chickens. I know it sounds so far-fetched, but this is kind of where our government is pushing us. And all I see is a bunch of rich people making moves for people that are disadvantaged, right? That's all I see. I see capitalistic people who, no matter if tariffs go up or down, they okay with paying $18 for eggs.
Yeah, but so have you looked at how society in other countries, why people that stay on top? What's the most important thing that they learn how to do? They learned how to starve the people at the bottom.
Absolutely.
When you take and starve the people at the bottom, you can get. So
you're thinking that's what he's doing, taking the book.
I just think right now we just have a very not so smart, clueless person sitting in the White House while he got this other
taking a chapter out of other countries or whatever. And
so that's real. You know, if you look at what he does and the things that he say, all he's doing is trying to create a dictatorship that he has seen happen in other countries. He is not doing anything new that has not already been done. And because he thinks he is so great, he's not. But when you can talk so much game, as the old people say, shit talking, when you can do that real good and scare people, and you have been able to bully people and a class of people all your life with your rhetoric, you continue to do the same thing. And then you get other people who think that they're better and on your level, but they're not. So you use them because they're not smart enough to know you're not smart. So they're going to go along with what you do because they think they're about to get something out of it. But the reality is they're all going to be sitting where everybody else is. I think this right now is just him trying to flex. But he wants to be a dictator. He wants to be able to sit in that position. He wants to be able to say that he can't get out of it until he's ready to get out of the seat. So that's what he's really trying to do. And we have to stop focusing. That's why I don't listen to the news and watch all that stuff.
Hold your thoughts for a second. We're about to get the intro or whatever. I just want to get people in. You know what I'm saying? Because I know we can go a long time when we're talking about politics.
Go crazy. I don't know why you started wrong conversation. Yeah, that's the wrong topic right there. We could be.
I wasn't expecting y'all to go that long. I was like, maybe y'all can say a few words. You know, it never fails, right? Hold on, y'all.
Yeah, that's you talking about economy, black people. You talk about all kinds of stuff. You know, we got stuff to say about that.
Will get the parade, and all the reasons start to fade.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Reasons, the show where you can give your reasons why you think what you feel about what we're talking about today. We should know this, man. We say no.
Dear brother, how do y'all deal with erectile dysfunction when you're in a relationship?
I wouldn't know how to do it unless I had it. And remember, And remember, if they're talking about you behind your back, they behind you for a reason.
Peace. I love y'all.
What's up? What's up? What's up? The Reasons on Fired Up Thursdays, y'all. Hey, it's your boy Fuel in the house.
Fat Boy in the building. You already know what type of time we are
This is
here.
Dr. C, the place to be.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You guys,
We're our hand claps.
You didn't hear the
Oh, we ain't heard nothing.
What? Hey, so we're talking a lot of cultural stuff today. Look like from the looks of it, man. We're talking about cultural traditions. We got some in history and blackness, and then we got a little something for dear brothers and sisters for you guys that are coming up. So stay tuned, for all of those. We got it. We're gonna be talking about it. How y'all doing, man? It's been we missed a little. Missed y'all last week, man.
We missed a week.
Yeah.
Missed a week.
Well, actually, people really don't know. We work live still, but that people don't know that.
People know. People was calling me talking about, is this a show from last week? Is this a show from last week? I'm like, yeah.
Right.
We taking a little hiatus.
Little something.
I'm doing well. I'm in NOLA right now, and I got a chance to enjoy Mardi Gras, so that was fun. I'm in Nolens. Had a great time here. The culture is here. Culture's rich.
Yeah.
And I love to see brothers and sisters everywhere I go.
Oh yeah.
And this is another one of those cities. I'm a historian. This is another, not necessarily a great migration city because they were already here. So, but it's another one of a large migration of African Americans and just the history, the rich history here of just the Haitians coming, and I love it. I love every part of it. So I've been just enjoying New Orleans and enjoying the food, trying to stay away from the pork.
What's up, Daisy? Daisy for joining. Appreciate you.
Daisy.
Daisy's in the house. Hey, Rhonda, how's it going?
Life has been good for the last 2 weeks. I actually host and did it's called Conversation and Cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some.
That's right. You've been doing that. How's that going?
Oh, it was good. It was good. Had like 40 people come out each time. I did it once on the 15th. No, on the 19th, and then I did it again last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. Good conversations, man. You get them people talking. So, I have a couple of people that sit on my panel and I ask them questions. And so it gets them going, and have some guys that are involved, that there. And when guys open up and really become very vulnerable and honest, and women and other men are in the room, it opens the room up for dialogue.
Yeah.
And people don't, because you're getting to hear one of the young men that, I had with me on Friday. Look, he came through. When I say he was transparent, he was transparent.
Yeah.
So the thing is, people need to hear those things, and women, especially when you're talking about, being married, want to get married, being in a relationship, being a mother, raising a male child, all of these things you need to be able to hear a man say, and talk about some of the things that they go through. Because as a woman, I tell everybody, I raised 2 amazing young men, but I'm not a man. I had to make sure they were surrounded by men that could pour into them and teaching them how to become great young men, so that when they got out in the world, they're not looking crazy and trying to figure out what's happening in the world, So, it was good. It's been a good week. I had some great meetings.
That's what's up.
Trying to get some movies done. So
get to that chicken, huh?
Yes.
Dr. C?
We got a lot of a little. It's funny that one of our topics is cultural tradition, and then we're going to get into that. Actually, we're going to go ahead and get into that one first, preserve it, and then incorporating cultural heritage and family life. And it's kind of ironic that Fat Boy is in a city that basically celebrate is a culture for our African Americans. And I was thinking about it when I was putting this when I was actually adding this to the program. they're more, what is it for us as far as coaches? Because I've read up on, and I'm gonna go through them later on or whatever, some different cultural things that other people, other coaches have as far as Russian, Australian, all that type of people. And like now they got what, Ramadan? Is it called Ramadan?
Ramadan.
Ramadan, yeah,
Ramadan.
Yep. Which they're celebrating that stuff. Like a lot of guys at my job, celebrate. Practice that too as well. Yeah. So, anyway, I mean, what do you guys, as far as how do you feel as far as like our culture are? Because there's no African American culture, is it?
I disagree.
I'm asking. I'm not saying it.
What I mean by that is I don't think that has been labeled African American culture,
but it is.
I think that African American culture is pop culture.
Because,
and so a lot of times when you turn on your TV, a lot of times when you see a lot of you're watching your marketing, you're watching that's pop culture is our culture. It has been watered down. I think that when we talk about culture and you're speaking of blacks, right, or African Americans, I think that we have two cultures. I think we have the American Negro culture, and then we have our ancestral culture, which is from Africa. And I think that the culture that really dictates and guides the world, right, is the American Negro culture, right? It is the bop, it is the step, it is the way you speak, it is the way you carry yourself, it's the way you dress. I think that because it is so looked down upon, because it's urban, because it's jive, as my grandma would say back in the day, that it's looked upon as from a certain aspect. But I do think that we do have a culture, and I do think that it's more than fashion. I think that in the area of education, the level of excellence that we drive and we strive for in education as well is American Negro culture, right? I think that the American Negro, not just African, I think the American Negro has exemplified how education can transition a people,
right?
And so I think that we do have cultural tradition. I think that they have been reduced to stereotypes,
and that's true. So when you think about the cultures that it's like a melting pot in the U.S. And even other places. But when you're talking about Black culture, we had a lot of things going on way before anybody else. So when you talk about the style, the fashion, how we move, what we do, everybody, they try to stereotype us, but it's kind of hard to do that when you are a group of people that are coming up with ideals and have visions that other people want. So, for me, it's like the difference between Black Americans and those that come from other cultures, because there's Blacks in every other culture, no matter where they come from. There are Black people in those cultures. The difference is that they hold tradition very tight, which is what we don't do. They hold tradition very tight. So it is very important to express or talk about how they're raised and the things and challenges that they went through, how the foods were made, how the clothes were made, the things that was very hard to do because the limited resources. They had to come up with ways of making it happen. And so they continue on making sure that whatever they did, they want to pass it down. We don't do so great at that. Chris Rock once said, if he would have known back in the day that one of his greats, whether it was a grandfather or uncle or whatever, ended up in the White House, in Congress somehow, he would have had a different opportunity or would have had a different outlook. This is part from us that we don't do that. So we don't give these things to our children. And then there are sometimes there's nobody to give or pass on information. Somebody has to take the time to gather the information so that you can pass it on to your children and other family members. And that's the only thing that I can see, because I love all of my friends that come from everywhere. They are Trinidad, Jamaica, Africa, Dubai. I got friends from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way when I spend time with them, because they are tight.
Right.
They can come in and they can have a conversation. They're so excited to see each other. And even if somebody's mad at each other, they're still going to show up, and they're wanting to pass on traditions and have these conversations and make sure that everybody is in tune. This is something that we lack in the Black community a lot of times, especially those that are considered, African American, born and raised here in America. But you got to go back to High on the Hog. I've watched that two different seasons and documentaries, and they're talking about how when they brought the Africans over, and then the food that came over with that, and then the Geechee people still down in North and South Carolina, the food and the culture and all of that, they still celebrate these things. And so they're still celebrating it, and we don't celebrate things because we don't know enough to celebrate.
We don't know.
So
why is it that us as being African Americans are African from Africa? Why do we don't celebrate like Africans do?
Because we don't. So you don't know. If you don't know what
you've been ripped away from your history, right?
We know the history. We know how they celebrate. We don't celebrate.
We don't necessarily. I think that the issue with us is none of us are truly connected to a tribe.
Well, I am.
And I think with African culture,
we got connected to. We got connected.
I know what I mean by that is we don't know what tribe we come from, right? So I think that a lot of times when it comes to connecting, there's a disconnection there, right? It's like we don't know where we come from in Africa, essentially, and so people don't know what tradition
you do
to follow.
I do,
right? Yeah. Or what traditions are acceptable, or what tradition that we should share, right? Because one thing we have to understand as American Negroes, quote unquote, right, is that our tradition have been taken away from us through years of disenfranchisement, right? We don't really know our culture from the motherland.
That's right.
The difference between everyone else, the Irish, the Chinese, the Arab, the Arab. Sorry, y'all, that's not the right way to say that. The Arab, right, is because they're usually first generation, second generation from their country. They still hold on to those traditions. You have to understand, we are 4 or 5 generations crack cocaine, mass incarceration. Right, a lot of miseducation, a lot of misinformation, and then a lot of you got to think about all of the traditions that were lost in translation, right? And so I think that there's a big reason why we don't connect with our local tribe. So like Dr. C, if each and every one of us, and it's a task, right? But if each and every one could have a tribe that we connect with, right, whether it's Swahili, it's right, we can know, okay, well, during the month of June, the Swahilians, right, they do this, right? But we don't know that because we've been so ripped apart from where we're from. And so I think that
we are live.
That's why
we're really
it's a
live.
big deal as the American Negro. I talk to my dad about this a lot, is that we hold on to the traditions that we have and that we created in this country, because it's a big part of who we are. And then as we learn about what tribes we're from, as we learn about our African history or ancestry, then we can start to follow those traditions. But we have a rich African American history.
So you got it. So this is what okay. So the other day I watched the 13th, which was done by Ava DuVernay. And it talks about the mass incarceration of people of color and when it changed and the things that happened, and how they started just building these prisons, just for incarcerating people of color. So, let's go all the way back to slavery. the reason why, you know, people want to say sometimes women of color were very vocal, very independent, all this stuff. Well, if you take us back to slavery, when you were snatching our sons and our husbands out of the home and selling them off and leaving us to fend for ourselves, we got to learn how to fight, and we got to learn how to provide. And so what do? Some of your tradition gets cut down because the role that you normally would play as just the wife and a mother, now you're out in the field doing a lot of the things that the men would be doing, and doing half of the things in the house sometimes that you need to do as a woman. So if you don't have, and sometimes when people are growing up in disadvantaged households, you don't want to remember certain things because that becomes something that is negative, instead of you looking at it as something enriching to teach you, you know, how to survive and how to make and how to move forward. You don't want to deal with that. So unconsciously, I think sometimes we just stop doing things because we just don't want to deal with what that really entails or what it makes us feel like when we were growing up. Yeah. So we just don't want to deal with that part.
Yeah.
So now as we get older, we got to figure out, how do I bring my family together? How do I, you know, bring a community together? How do we?
It's by what you said, right? It's by embracing the good, the bad, and the ugly. One thing I loved about us is that I always, before I found out that there were free, we can get out of here, right? Before I found out there were free African Americans here, right? Or there were free Negroes here before slavery, right? I always related to the slavery culture, and I'm going somewhere with this, is because you got to think about so much greatness came out of that, right? So many inventions, and we talk about this on our show every day, right? So many inventions. The world changed because of the evil that came out of that, right? Like the world changed because of someone thought the evil that they will place on us will break us, but it changed the world. And I think that in order to really move forward, you have to embrace the negative. You have to embrace the things that you are fearful, that you're shameful of. We talk about this on the show all the time, but I think as a culture, we have to do it, right? Because I think the thing that makes us slavery, what makes us like almost despicable, and it's just like lower than, it's one of the greatest things that happened to our people, right? Because so many things, so many traditions, and so many lives and HBCUs, and so many things have grown from that. There is no ending of an apartheid without the civil rights movement, now, right? There's so many things that the American, and I tell my dad this, right? The American Negro changed the world, y'all, not the African. I love my African brother and sister, but the American Negro brought civil rights. That shit don't exist. There's only one other person that even thought about humanity, and that's Gandhi.
That's it.
Right.
That's a fact. And Confucius, if we want to go real historical, right? But before civil rights, before the civil rights movement, civil rights didn't even exist. That's why after civil rights took its toll, Malcolm X said he wanted to go to the UN on crimes against humanity, right? Because the idea of working and having the equal rights for society didn't even exist during Caesar.
No.
You know what I mean? The African American Negro has brought so much to the world that has changed the way everyone lives. And what has happened is in this time of challenging DUI and challenging everything that we've done, the world gets to see how much the American Negro has changed the world. This is not an African thing, y'all. I'm being honest. This is an American Negro thing. This is James Baldwin. This is Langston Hughes. This is Martin Luther King. This is Frederick Douglass. This is Sojourner Truth. This is those figures who really fought on the line. There is no Nelson Mandela without Marcus Garvey.
I was going to say that was going to be my next thing, because Nelson Mandela, he got himself, and he allowed himself to be locked up. But then he had
Yes,
the
he
backing of so many people in America, African American blacks, that were going over there and helping him and helping the people over there, the government that, was going through a lot of turmoil. So we got to think about, we add so much value and richness to this country as to who we are. The problem is we got a bad habit of listening to people trying to tell us who we are. We don't stop and just think that my self-worth has not, and is not predicated on who you think that I am or who you think I should be. Yeah. So the fact that you even think you can tell me is a problem. The fact that you think you can look at me and think that I'm somebody different than who I am is a problem. And then when you talk to me differently, that's another problem. So we got to understand, you can't allow somebody else to downplay your you because you ain't up to where you are. So you got to always know.
That's a mouthful.
You got to always know who you are and always stay in tune with you, because black is black. Look at all of us. It's 3 different shades up on the screen. And it ain't saying that one is better than the other. It's 3 different shades. So what does that tell you? It tells you that we come from a rich culture that had the nerve and the audacity to be able to produce 3 different types of shades to make it look like it's something. So I cannot play with people. That's why I can't listen to today. I can't listen to Trump, because I'm just waiting for him to just kill over somehow. And if he keep messing around with Elon Musk's son, he might put a bullet in his head, because he's tired of him. He told me he ain't the president. So he ain't trying to deal with him. But we just got to get back to, the biggest thing, if we can learn how to just love one another, not because you're giving me something or doing something for me. Just learn how to love one another, because whatever you have that you can share knowledge-wise, I will need that later on. I might not need it right now, but later on I need it. So every time Fat Boy is dropping all his Black history knowledge and, Black culture, because that's his thing, it's wisdom and knowledge in a young man that is willing to share, but who has the passion to know and understand what we've gone through, where we're heading, some of the other things that have gone on. And it's not just with us, but other cultures. We got to stop sitting and tripping about, this, that, and the other that doesn't make sense and not adding value to us. It does. A lot of this stuff, if we think about it, a lot of these shenanigans that go on are not adding value to who we are as a people. And we get caught up in it. We get caught up, we swallow it, we drink it and all that stuff. And then somebody tell you it's true. You be like, oh, that's true. You come about to argue somebody down about something that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, but we will do that. So we got to figure that out.
And now your prejudice ass paying $18 for egg.
Let's
get it together one of these days. Yeah, because you can say fuck everybody else, but you're gonna pay the same price for them eggs and oranges. So go ahead and get it together.
Y'all get in on these conversations, man. So I mean, since we were talking about, I mean, there's so many different, cultural, traditions that, that I was reading on some just for fun, just because we was talking about it, man. Say, for instance, don't ask for salt when dining in Egypt. I don't know if y'all heard that.
No.
Yeah. It says in many cultures like the United States, it's all right to ask for salt to add to your food. But if you are dining with friends and colleagues in Egypt, keep in mind to avoid asking for salt. It is taken as an insult to the host, as Egyptians take it to mean that you are repulsed by their taste of meal that you served. They served you.
Well, in Europe, look, in Europe, period, when you go over there and some of the places you go, it's the same thing. There's just certain etiquette that you do when it comes to eating, because people do take it personal. Like in Italy, if you don't eat, you go to somebody's house and you say, no, I'm not hungry, then that's an insult.
Oh yeah, they really offensive.
So yeah, you got to. It depends on where you are. Yeah, there's certain insults when it comes to that.
All right, here goes another fun one. A question of being punctual. Yeah, and y'all know how we are. But anyway, I don't know how
in China
it's true, but it says the value of being on time depends on the country. In Venezuela, it is actually a norm to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes late for a dinner invitation. Being early for Venezuelan means the person is either over eager or greedy. Americans are sticklers for punctuality. Shit. Anyway, but like the Germans, South Korean, and the Japanese, it's incredibly how in Malaysia being 5 minutes late, which can actually extend to 60 minutes, is acceptable. And do not need to apologize to. What's extreme is how meeting at the exact time is immortal in Morocco, where it is totally all right to be late for an hour or an entire day. What the hell? It's fine for the Chinese if you are late for 10 minutes, while Mexicans and Greeks will excuse you if you arrive 30 minutes after the appointed time. So
I've lived in Europe, so I can say it is culturally depending on where you are. Morocco, I'm trying to think. I was on time wherever I had to go, so I didn't know just that. In Paris, it's punctual because there are so like in certain places over there, everybody stop at the same time to go to lunch. So it would be shut down and they're gone to lunch and doing whatever. So like some of these countries, they have other times where they get to take a nap for an hour. You go lay down and then come back to work, and then so it just depends on the country. But me and living over there, I do know Paris is they're punctual because it's business, a lot of stuff dealing with the fashion industry. But yeah, every place is different for sure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of point some little fun facts or whatever. If you guys want to check it out, go to Day Translation blog on Google. Just Google Day Translation blog. Yeah. All right, man. Well, it's about that time, man. We talked about
Blackness.
You know what it is. You know what it is.
Where my music at, man?
You don't hear your music?
No.
No, I don't hear no music.
Y'all don't hear that music?
No.
He ain't playing my music, y'all.
Now it's on, but that ain't the music.
That ain't even our music.
I don't know.
Hey, Black Lynn, come get your cousin.
I don't know what y'all hearing over there, bro. I don't know what y'all hearing.
Hey, we gotta say that every week. Hey, Black Lynn, come get your cousin. Shout out Black Lynn. Shout out Jill. Our prayers always to Jill. We have another segment of History and Blackness. I'm excited for this one. Dr. CB sending me jewels like that sometimes, or like a magic pass. So she throw this to me. No, it's today we have Alexander Miles, born May 18, 1838. He passed away May 7, 1918. He was an African-American inventor and businessman renowned for his significant contribution to elevator safety. Born in Pickaway County, Ohio, Miles began his career as a barber, working in Wisconsin and later in Winona, Minnesota, where he met and married Candace J. Dunlap. The couple had a daughter, Grace, in 1879. In 1887, Miles was granted U.S. Patent 371,207 for an innovative mechanism that automated the opening and closing of elevator doors, substantially reducing the risk of accidents associated with manual operation. The invention this invention has had a lasting impact on elevator safety standards. Beyond his inventive achievements, Miles was a trailblazer in business. He became the first Black member of the Duluth Chamber of Commerce, and later founded the United Brotherhood, a life insurance company that provided coverage to Black individuals who were often denied services by other insurers.
Yeah.
Finally, got some music, got some sound, got some value.
You just couldn't hear last time. That's
That's
what it was. Another one. That was a good one.
Yeah, when I look at looking at, I've been looking at a lot of these Black history and going through and just like I'm in amazement of the things that these people were able to accomplish, and accomplish a lot with little, if we really think about, because they did not want people of color to be educated. So there has to be some super on your natural in order to come up with some of these things that our people came up with with inventions, because they were being held and kept back from being able to go to school, or they would have to sneak. And so when you think about when they were enslaved and some of the inventions or different tools that they ended up creating and making so that life could be easier while they're doing their thing, they didn't get credit for. But just think about the kind of mindset you have to have as an inventor of anything, and to be that creative and take things to an intricate, like when you think about the mechanism for a doggone elevator.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah,
that is
that's the thing about that's one thing about our culture is we got great inventors, on things that we really didn't realize. A lot of people don't realize, rather.
No.
You know what I'm saying? That's got to
This
make this world go
back
around.
to what I was saying about this is all American Negro, y'all.
Right.
And I want to give. I love our African ancestry, right? I do, but I do not think that the average American Negro knows how much the American Negro has contributed to the world.
No.
Right? So I just want to let y'all know there's no separating the Siamese twins without us. There's no blood infusion without us. There's no, the way that we eat ice cream today, Black people, ranch,
right?
Us. The modern elevator today, us. The straightening comb, when you're getting all spruced up, that's us. It's so much stuff that you do on your everyday. When you stop at a stoplight, you did that today. Before you came to this show, no, for real, you stopped at somebody's stoplight. That's us. That did not exist before the American Negro, before slavery, before they did not allow blacks to read, before you had to find things around your house to learn how to make them work, right? That's us. This is not, right? We're not talking about what the Egyptians did. We're not talking about what the, what the Mayans or should I say the Kushites did, right? We're talking about the American Negro. We have put a stamp on the world that no one can remove. And I think that if the average American youth knew what was really boiling in their bloods and the stock, as the old people would say, the stock that they come from, I don't think we got a lot of YNs running around here with pistols, right? I think that you have a different youth, right? That same energy that they have against each other, they have on education, right? I think that a big part of where our society is today is keeping our youth and our people disconnected from who we truly are and what we've contributed to society, let alone the world.
I think if what the stuff that goes on with the youth that we have now when it comes to violence towards one another is because there's nobody there to tell them or teach them something differently and to challenge them in their mental, in order for them to really think about what they're doing and what they want to do, who they want to become, because they all have a desire to be someone. But if I don't have anybody showing me how to do that, then I'm gonna stay out here and be buck wild, because buck wild and it makes it look fun and it's excusable. My behavior is excusable and I don't have to answer for it until it's too late. But just thinking about how they're trying to take Black culture out of schools and all of that. If somebody really put a book together, and not just talking about Harriet and Frederick Douglass, but really put a book together for Black people to really go through history from the beginning to the end, and definitely record and put the correct dates
pull a history from 50s all the way up until now, and you're going to have a big.
No, from 1900s.
No, I'm saying for the younger generations that don't even understand the things that have been going on all the way up to get to this point to where we are. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, you know, at least get some sort of history where it don't have to be all the way back because they feel like it's maybe too boring or too, you know, nothing to them right now. But we're talking about in the last 50 years, 60 years, you know what I'm saying? To the point where, you know, they should be able to learn as well. You know what I mean?
You know how the Latino took Hamilton and turned it into a Broadway play. That's exactly what we need to do. We need to take and find someone that can take some cultural history that intertwines, because there's a lot of that stuff back then that intertwined where these people met each other. So it wasn't that it was just, you know, it wasn't that they just went one way and the other way, but people actually intertwined and they knew each other at some time they met. So if he can do that, just based off of his knowledge of reading the book, the history, we can do that when it comes to having something for culturally for people.
I'm gonna write it, Jill. Jill say, Fat Boy, write the book. I'm gonna write it. My therapist already told me to write. It's funny you said that. My therapist already told me to write a guide for young black men living in a certain environment and trying to grow out of that and understanding that you got to adapt to a certain environment, but there's a certain way to move and maneuver out of that.
I'm gonna help you get it. I'm gonna help you get it published. You can actually, once you get that done, you can actually appeal to universities and go and speak.
And not only that, when you started. And this is the thing. I mean, just like you said, like Rhonda helped you start on this book or whatever the case would be. You know, AI can write a whole book for you after you put the right, you know what I'm saying, things in the book or whatever that you want to and how you want to say it. It can professional it up for you just like that. Just
work. Hey, listen, I'm gonna work on it, y'all, because you know what? No, we really do need. We need something. I was telling my therapist today about this. All jokes aside, right? I was telling my therapist that as a young black boy or a young black man and growing, you do not truly realize your power or the impact that you could make on society until you grew. You know, like my therapist, she said, well, it's crazy that you didn't realize that you were going to change when you went to school. And I told her, I said, my biggest thing was not to change, right? Phil will tell you, like, I was not changing. Like, the person y'all see here today, this is the growth and time and experience. Like, if you ask Phil, I'm going to be a nigga carrying a gun or acting crazy for the rest of my life. That was like, I wanted to be Malcolm X. I wanted to be militant. I wanted to be a certain way. And as I grew up and as I learned that, okay, well, this is what you really are. This is where you really come from. This is what they really did. And this is the reason why Malcolm X the way he really was. And I was like, I gotta grow different. I gotta do things different. And so I was telling my therapist, like, a book and a guide is much needed for us to understand just how we can use Darwinism to survive and succeed at the same time. Yeah. That's the best way.
Fat Boy said, Lyft. I said Fat Boy. Lyft said Fat Boy Big Black Book. That's the name of it. Fat Boy's Big
Black for real. No, for real. I like what Jill said though. Jill said, "Don't professionally."
The way you speak will reach more people.
The way you speak will reach more people. So, I agree.
So this year, I am going to, along with a friend, we're going to do a men's tea. So this is where you have mature men that bring young men in, and everybody has to be dressed to the nines. You can't come in with just you got to be suited and booted. But the men's tea is where they actually sit down and have a dinner. And so what they did was they actually took, and he picks men of color culture, that books that he read. And so the name of that person is the name of the table. But then on their menu, when you open it up, you actually get a little bio of the person who's the table you're sitting at. And then you get the menu, what's on there. But they place mature men and young men at the table to be able to have conversation, you know, because part of the problem is they're not getting the conversation that they need. They're not being engaged. They're not being shown or taught how to think and how to do decision making and how to engage in conversation, because everything is so quick, so fast, and what's on TV, what's on social media, and I need to do this and I need to do that. So for me, because I do have boys, and I've always, like, them jokers was clean. So I've always watched my boys be very dapper in their own personal style and how they charismatic and just being able to have good conversations, no matter what the age, whether it's a small young man or it's a grown man, they can sit down and have really good conversations. And so I have a heart for that, for other young boys, you know, that need that. So me and some friends that is like family, he's done it 2 years in a row. And my youngest son, you know, whenever he was able to make it, he made sure he was there. But we have to do something to change the game for the young men. You know, we have to do something to help them want to see something differently.
Yeah.
I think Black Lives
yeah, Marshall. No, I can't remember. I've seen the line video.
Marshall crazy self. Our damn brother.
What's up,
our damn brother, y'all. Don't worry.
One thing is that we really have to start incorporating white people into this information. That that's I do. That's I do.
I think you definitely need to start to, because I think that Black Lives, because you ain't here, you doing this again.
You're doing it again.
I think that a big thing that will debunk, right, this disconnection is that we all ain't on the same page, right? I think that when we start to mention people, the white people who were involved in this thing and who were losing their lives, because I'm an African American history buff, and it's a lot of white boys that ran in some shit, about us, right, and then literally went there about us, and we don't talk about them at all. Right. And I think that and also just the connection and the relationship that we have culturally. I think that what big media has done and politicians have done did exactly what Black Lift has said. Is kind of took out, when we're mentioning African American history, we're taking out white history. When we mention white history, we're taking out African American history. And we're not talking about how both of those coincided together to create the America that we have today. The same thing with Mexican Americans, the same thing with Asian Americans. What makes America what it is DEI, which is the most hilarious shit in our country. Because we are the most diverse nation of everybody. But to not have diversification and equality, inclusion is most funniest shit, because we are the most diverse nation in the world. There is no one with more diverse people than us, right? In Asia, they Asian. In Morocco, they Moroccan. In Ethiopia, they Ethiopian. Yes, you got other people that live in and move in and come through. But for the most part, America is you Asians, Anglo-Saxon, European, Arab, Mexican, Guatemalan, Eritrean, Ecuadorian, right? We're a combined thing. Vietnamese, Filipino, right? We're a combined nation, and until we're able to open up and understand each other's plights and mention how we work together, I think we'll continue to be disconnected. So great point.
Exactly.
An open dialogue, getting out of that echo chamber, is will unite us as human beings. I agree. I agree. Man. Because we all getting belt to ass. We all getting spanked, y'all. I'm letting you know. Yeah. You unless you're not a quadruple there. I don't even know if that's a word. Unless you got real big chicken, because that little $10-15 million y'all making ain't really no money. I want you to know that. If you're not controlling nations, they don't give a shit about y'all.
All right, let's get.
And I think it's big that as human beings, we all need to know that we all on the same
We got
page.
you, dog. I got you.
What's next?
I'm trying to get to it if Fat Boy let me. Oh, shit. Hey, so of course we got us a Dear Brothers and Dear Sisters.
We got Dear Brothers and
yeah.
Sisters.
So I want to just before we, I don't want to run out of time, but Dear Brothers, Dear Sisters, I'm gonna play. Of course, always got a video and something or whatever. So I'm gonna play this for you guys. And then we'll get into the Dear Brothers and Dear Sisters. Gonna let me know what y'all think. Here we go.
I remember my grandfather telling me, God rest his soul, before he passed away, that men have 4 different appetites that you have to tend to. He said, men are not complicated. He said, I'm just going to break it down to you. He told me, he said, men have a physical appetite, a visual appetite, a sexual appetite, and an emotional appetite. And for a minute, I really didn't understand it when I was younger, but as I got older, it really started to click. It always stayed with me. He said, physically, you need to make sure that you know how to cook. And if you don't know how to cook, then find out how to cook. And if you can't, then at least have a meal on the stove or in the stove. By the time he get there, that's warm, especially if that man is taking care of the household. He said, it don't take a lot of work. He said it don't. And I watched my grandmother do it. I watched her do it, so I know that I'm capable. He said a visual appetite. He said, keep yourself up. He said, if you're the only woman that this man is going to be with, at least keep yourself up. He said, because men still need to be stimulated visually, so that way they can crave you. He said, and he said, love will still be there. He said, and although your looks will fade, you the one woman that he wants to look at. Give him something, excite him, make him imagine something, tease him, right? And then there's the sexual. My grandfather told me, he said that, yes, visually you can stimulate a man. He said, but don't forget that men are sexual in nature. He said, and so they're going to want to do what they want to do to their woman. You're the only woman that he's sleeping with. You're the only woman that he desired. Take some time out of y'all day. He said, look, if y'all got to share the responsibilities, share the responsibilities. You both do things in the house, so that way when the kids are down, y'all both can bathe and oil each other down and do what y'all need to do. He said, that's going to help y'all connect. And then last one, he said, men do have an emotional appetite. He said, all men want to feel is appreciated, understood, heard. That's it. He said, just listen to him. You don't got to talk much. Just listen. He always told me that men are not that complicated.
The reason I wanted to clap, what'd you do, Fat Boy?
That's a cheers right there.
I mean, I'm sorry that I had to play that because she just hit everything right on the note. That's us.
Yeah,
that's really us. You know what I'm saying? And more women need to see that. Don't get confused that this is us. You know what I mean?
Don't get confused. It's crazy. And you didn't even know how to nicely say that shit. You didn't even know how to say it nice or professional or nothing.
I'm not emotional about it. I mean, when I'm passionate about, and thank you, Miss Will Moore, whoever put this video up. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Tell us in another one.
Hey, Fuel, you gotta watch Fuel, man.
When something hits right at home or hits right, I am passionate about it. You know what I'm saying? Not really emotional, but just kind of like I feel it. You know what I'm saying? And if that's what I feel, man, that's just me. You know what I mean?
Hey, how they say it? How the young say type shit? Type shit, you feel me? Hey, you know what I'm saying? You feel me?
All
right. I'll agree with you. A true relationship is the unperfect people refusing to give up on each other. I definitely agree.
The question for Dear Brother, Dear Sister is, do you think people are really actually looking for a real relationship today?
I doubt it.
I don't. You know what? So. I kind of think it depends on where you are in your life. Now I'm hearing a bunch of old folks talking about they just want companionship. Companion to do what? Because you can't be my companion and think I'm gonna still do things like I would do if I was married. That ain't happening. So, I just think people they're very lazy now. They're just wanting to do what they want to do, and they want somebody that's willing to go along and hang out and do whatever it is. I think people make excuses. If I want to really cut up, I don't want to be perfect and I don't want to do right. Let me just be me, and whatever me,
Let me
yeah,
cut
whatever
up.
me is, that's all I want to do. But no, I do think there are some people that actually are looking for true relationships because you want to know that the person that you with is there with you for life. But I do believe that a lot of people are not looking for true relationships. They're just looking for people to hang out with. Now things have changed so much that people um, are living their best life in whatever capacity that may be. You got a lot more people traveling now that wouldn't travel before. You got a lot more people hanging out with their girlfriends or hanging out with their homies, doing things. So
Are you saying people feel more free now than being in a relationship, than that type of thing?
Yeah. And then you got a lot more people that's divorced. So I think that's the other thing that causes people not to want to go back into any relationships that are very serious or committed, is because they've already been there, done that, and now they are divorced. They're like, Lord Jesus, thank you, I'm free.
Thank you, God. No, for real. No, for real.
Serious,
Dr. C.
because when
No, for
you
real.
realize you spend a lot of years with somebody and that person has not helped you grow as a person to be your best you, they haven't added value to you. When you get free, you don't want to look, you like, I'm not trying to be attached to nobody else that is not going to add value to me, and I can add value to them. So the divorce rate is so high. No, they're not trying it. The only people that are looking for relationships, solid relationships, most of the time are the people that's never been married. But the people that have been married, if they had a rough marriage, they're not interested. They're gonna be single for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback off Dr. C. Jill says, I think women nowadays are so worried about men and women being equal, and they take that to mean the same. Men are women, and women are made different
Amen,
needs.
Jill.
And I agree, Jill. I think that society has put a false blanket on what relationships are supposed to be.
And with women, because the reality is this: women are making a lot of money. And so when you have men that are making money and they're trying to treat the women like they part of the men group, and wanting them to feel like they're way up, so women don't have the same respect for men like they should. They're not looking to be in relationships because they're like, I'm walking around holding the bag. Well, look, sir, ma'am, what's happening when the bag is no longer there?
What I've noticed is too, Dr. C, I've noticed that a lot of women, say this, it's about to sound crazy. A lot of women have turned into men in a sense of they're using relationships as trophies, as additions to what their lifestyle is, right? So you hear a lot of women, and men have been doing this. So we're not, ladies, I'm not jumping on women, right? Men have been doing this. This is what men have been doing since the beginning of time. But now women have begun to adopt this behavior in a sense of, I only need a man to complete where I am today, right? I've done this, I've done that, I have my home, I have my education. Now I need a man, and then I'll be the successful woman that I thought I was going to be in my dreams. Right?
Actually,
men been doing this. Men been doing this for the last 30, 40, 175,000 years. So that, but women have adopted this behavior, right? Of that.
He can't hear you. He don't have.
Hear me? If that boy can hear me, he can hear me.
No, he can't hear you. You real low.
How am I that low? Am I that low? That loud? That enough? I'm trying not to be too loud. I'm trying not to be too loud. I don't want to be overbearing. But with all the relationship topics or in all the relationship podcasts, all the relationship, do y'all still think that's what's going on? I mean, because I mean, I'm
because half them podcast people will be lying and lame as hell.
No, I'm saying
know the truth.
No,
including the lady you just posted. Because she been cheating on her husband for the
Who?
last
That
2
lady?
years, brother.
What are you talking about?
The one you just
The
posted.
one you just posted.
Kitty Rose.
Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of that.
Well,
See,
so
when
what
you
I'm
talk to
asking,
fat
that's why I'm
boys,
asking. That's why I'm
we can-
asking. With all that going on, right? With all these, with these podcasts, all these or whatever, there's no percentage of women that actually listen to, reality when it comes to trying to be with someone in a relationship and not so-called wearing the pants or feeling like they're the boss of the man that they're with or whatever, or is it just going out the window?
It's,
Great question, Fuel. I think that those women do exist. I think that us as men aren't prepared for them.
Yeah, because I was going to say you have
I think that we so worried about those women, right? Who false pop shit and falsely, or the women that they supposed to be, that we miss the women who really have the right rhetoric when we're talking to them, right? We've been talking about the red flags, right? There's a lot of women who just want you to come take over their day and who wants to, right? Or a lot of men, vice versa, right? But there are those people that you meet that may not be, quote unquote, your speed. They may not be your type, and we kind of look over them, and they speak in all of the game. So to answer your question, I do think that they're there. I do think that a lot of people, we just looking in the wrong places. And a lot of places that we're looking, because we're looking in those places and those people aren't used to that kind of behavior, we're expecting the wrong behavior out of the wrong crowd.
Okay. Rhonda,
to me, I just think that all the little reality stuff has basically taken the fantasy world, has become reality. Because when you're constantly showing things on TV and people are trying to mimic other people's lives, that they start chasing dollars and bags that they wouldn't have thought about chasing the way they do. So now you're looking at your life in comparison to what somebody else may be doing. And then you're now doing things that you wouldn't normally do as a woman when it comes to dealing with a man, and then what your expectation is. Because it's really, what I look at now, when I think about when, going to school, graduating, being afforded to have the career that I had, but even with my friends that went off to college, we were taught, you have a good career, you have a good education, you do what you need to do, you have a family, all of that. People strive to make sure that they were doing something that was adding value. Now, I think because we have so many media influences to be able to show people things differently, like if people were, doing something back then, we didn't know it unless it hit the newspaper or on TV, on the news, but we were not able to have a glimpse in somebody's everyday life. And so we were not mimicking the people that we saw because we couldn't see it. But now with all the things that are going on, even with the young women, if you watch how they move, the things they do and how they act, it's because they're watching the way the women are doing things that is on this reality show stuff that, it is actually, it's not their life, but they're mimicking what they see. Right. So it's hindering the relationship pool when it comes to quality people getting quality people, Then for men that are not about that life, the whole fanfare stuff, they don't have a chance sometimes when you're meeting these young ladies that are trying to act like they are the Atlanta housewife.
Let me tell you something, Dr. C. You can keep your Atlanta housewife ass in Atlanta. Listen, I'm shorter than a midget on his knees doing push-ups. You can have it. I'm sorry. Some other nigga gonna pay for you and fly you out to Dubai and all that.
That's what they looking for.
And then when he leave you for his assistant, I don't want to hear
that's
it.
What they looking for.
Because you like
that's what they looking for.
You like the trips.
Well, I think really just to sum it up though, if you're not in the relationship for the long run, as far as making the accomplishment or having an accomplishment or a goal or whatever to go forward or whatever the case may be, because that even having a future and goals or whatever with each other or whatever, it takes time.
I
You
do.
know, and if that's y'all focus or whatever, the relationship is going to grow because of that. You know what I mean? And if you don't even have at least that much or whatever when you're trying to be in a relationship, then you're really not going to have nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because you know you might have a different thought of what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you know, I might have a different thought of what the future is going to be. You know, so if I'm not on the same page, like with me, with this, what I do now, as far as the studio and stuff, and the growth that I'm trying to get for it, if you're not a part of it, I don't see any use for each other. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be and something that I can be a part of to help grow you. But if neither one of us,
you know what?
If neither one of us have that, though, if neither one of us have that, I'm working on me to do me or whatever the case may be. You're working on you to do you or whatever the case may be. And we haven't really came together because we're trying to be successful over here and you're trying to be successful over there or whatever. When do we come together?
You got to make so in that situation.
Gonna bump.
In that situation, you got to make the time.
Exactly.
So because I have a lot of my friends that are very successful. They have a business, their husband have a business, or they work for a company, he works for a company, and they do have their own times of doing things and making it happen.
Right.
But they do spend quality time together. They come together and they don't necessarily are supporting each other every day with whatever they have going on, but special occasions, different things like that they need to show up for their spouse. They show up.
The support. It is the support.
Right.
But the encouragement, the word of encouragement or whatever throughout that, you know what I'm saying? To have that person to be able to come home and talk to about what's going on or whatever is all part of that. All of that comes together. These are things that we don't know when we see successful couples, what they go through, what they talk about behind closed doors. And that's one reason why they're a successful or have a long-term relationship is because they have those conversations. I have an aunt that they've been married for 20 something years or whatever. And like, I don't know if I told you that before, Fat Boy, but I never thought on the outside, you would never think that they had an argument ever, right? Outside of that, I just happened to be downstairs in the studio one time and heard her argue, you know what I mean? And I was kind of like shocked. I'm thinking like, oh, shoot, it's going to be a divorce going on or something or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then by the time I got back upstairs, it was all lovey-dovey. Whatever that conversation was, it was not a part of me or anybody outside of that to the point where they discussed it, they handled it or whatever, and they are still together till this day. You know what I mean? So you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that's what you need or whatever when you with somebody.
Maturity, you know, relationships take maturity, you know, and so the reality is this: you can have a discussion and, you know, have a debate or a strong conversation and not be mad. It's just you having a conversation and nobody stepping out boundaries by calling somebody out of the game or doing something crazy and be good 2 seconds after you've had it. The problem with a lot of people is that you have some people that want to continue to antagonize the person. So they keep poking and prying at the person because they're trying to prove that they're right. I had a friend of mine that said to me the other day, we were talking about arguing, or, you know, when you have those type of conversations, and they said to me, well, I argued to be right. So I said to them, what the hell does that mean? Because opinion is an opinion. Your opinion is yours, mine is mine. So the fact that you can say to me, I argued to be right, that to me shows me that you're not mature enough to know that whatever your opinion is just so it doesn't mean that you're right or I'm right. However I interpret something, however I look at it, that's the way that I look at it. If you look at it a certain way, a different way, that's the way you look at it. You can't say, unless it is something committed to life or death, you can't tell me that my thought process is wrong, and I can't tell you that yours is wrong. So if you're arguing to be right, that's a problem. Because when you're dealing with people, I'm not arguing, period. I'm gonna have a strong conversation, and 2 seconds after I have it, I'm off. And if you
have a strong conversation,
we ain't having no more conversations because I'm done with it. So the reality is this: you got to think about what is it that's important for you in your relationship. Because are you arguing to be right?
Right.
Or do you want to be able to just express yourself and say, hey, this is who I am, or this is what I believe. I know you have your thing, so we're gonna agree to disagree.
Each person should have opinions, but still be able to compromise between those two, those opinions. That's really what it comes down to. I might not agree to everything that you agree to or whatever, and you might not agree to everything that I agree to. But there's somewhere in the middle where we can compromise, where we can still live together and be happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why you laughing? Who are you laughing about?
He know why I'm laughing.
Fat boy. What you laughing about, Fat boy? What's up?
But no, it's just, but it's, you know, it's the thing. And when you're in a relationship, you have to be willing to listen sometimes, and sometimes it's just you listening. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times there's always something behind the argument that got nothing to do with you. It just happened to be that your little thing was the nudge that was needed to push them off the edge,
push them over the top,
to start really.
You say when men are not men anymore, women have to use their masculine energy more. Interesting. Wow. What's up, Aziza's in the hills? What's up with you, man? Because people don't want to hear you.
Yeah.
Facts.
What you saying? No, I was just playing. I was just playing.
That's the whole thing. So we just got to, you know, this is how I assess a relationship. If I really love the person, and whatever it is that I may be disappointed about, is it enough to make me stop loving them?
Right.
And if the answer is no, then why am I sitting and tripping?
Mm-hmm.
Move on. I don't have time to waste, and I'm not going to waste your time because you sit there tripping about stuff you ain't got no business tripping about. Exactly. So you got to assess your situation. If you love the person, and whatever you having a disagreement about, take a couple of breathers and keep it pushing, because you arguing about something that is not adding up to anything. And a lot of times our arguments start off a little bitty things, but it's always something that happens that pushes you over the edge to make you feel like this is coming to an end.
Right. All right, man. On that note, that's gonna do it for us today, man. Dear brothers and sisters, once again, you guys, if you guys want to have a dear brother and sister, send it to us by email. You can hit up at firedupbroadcasting@gmail.com.
You know you get to take it everybody line.
You said what? Well, I mean, let's not hear what you're talking about.
You get to say that's my line. Hey man, send a short video, no longer the audio or video to firedupbroadcasting@gmail.com. Make it title it dear brother, dear sister, and make sure you put a little slappy emoji in there for damn fuel, because he like to steal my damn
all of your lines. He taking everything.
Oh my son!
I just led right into it.
Look, he said he got to get his in because you done took up all. He gonna try to get his in.
Every time I try to say something,
get nothing in.
That's the most I got to talk to the whole show. Shit.
Oh my God.
That's not good. That's what's up, man. But that's going to do it for us tonight, man. I appreciate you guys, of course, as usual. And then, like I said, actually, subscribe. Is that my line, dog? Subscribe. Subscribe and share. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitch, we're on all of them, YouTube, all of those. You know what I'm saying? Just go to it, check out the show, subscribe, and share. All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. What you got, Fat Boy? That's it. Ron,
I love y'all, man. I love you.
Well, look, this has been a good show. It's been a really good show. The conversation's been very good, and I hope anybody that comes back and look at it, they gain some knowledge, some wisdom from it, and use it. You know, share it. You know, the thing is, sharing is caring, as they say all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Black Lift and Jill, I love you to pieces.
Yes, indeed.
And just, you know, do what you got to do, because that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And,
family is all we have, man.
Be good to yourself, stay true to yourself, love yourself, and be kind to yourself, because we will see you back here next week.
Indeed. And remember, if they talking about you behind your back,
talk about you behind your back.
Behind you for a reason.
They behind you for a reason. Peace.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Reasons, the show where you can give your reasons why you think what you feel about what we're talking about today. We should know this, man. We know.
Dear brother, how do y'all deal with erectile dysfunction when you're in a relationship?
I wouldn't know how to do it unless I had it.
I had it.
And remember, if they're talking about you behind your back,
they behind you for a reason. Hey.